I know I'm about to disagree with thousands of readers, and perhaps with you too, but I found Ann Patchett's Whistler surprisingly underwhelming. So it is with some trepidation that I'm sharing my review of this much-loved bestseller. The book is about Daphne Fuller, who in her early 50s bumps into Eddie, her former stepfather, whom she last met more than 40 years ago when she was just a 9-year-old girl. Back then, they shared a wonderful bond. Although Eddie was Daphne's stepfather for barely a year, they were incredibly fond of each other. But then something happened that brought their life together to an abrupt end. In the present, they more or less pick up where they left off and decide to spend some time together, get to know each other again, and learn what life had been like during all those years they did not, or rather could not, stay in touch. The novel has a promising premise. It sets you up for an emotional journey through which you hope to enter the worlds of these characters as they grapple with questions from the past, navigate the present, and prepare for whatever lies ahead. As a reader, I wanted to know more about Daphne and Eddie, what their relationship had been like all those years ago, what exactly happened that ended Daphne's mother's marriage to Eddie and tore the family apart, and what kind of interactions would shape and define Daphne's and Eddie's relationship in the present. As the novel progresses, you do get all your answers one by one. The main characters are largely likable. In fact, Eddie is perhaps a little too perfect, except for that one mistake he made many years ago that precipitated his divorce. We go back and forth in time and witness, among other things, that near tragic incident involving Daphne and Eddie, how they survived it, and how their brief time together as a family left a lasting impact on both their lives and life choices. But beyond these revelations, I found that there was very little to keep me invested. I entered the world these people inhabit hoping for an engaging narrative, memorable characters, and meaningful dialogue. Sadly, for the most part, nothing particularly interesting happens. The events that unfold, the conversations that take place, and even the inner voices that we get to hear, or rather read, did not feel especially compelling to me. Way too many pages are devoted to Daphne or Eddie meeting a host of supporting characters over coffee, dinners, or 50th anniversary celebrations, and then engaging in, well, small talk. I simply could not bring myself to care about these ancillary characters. The book just goes on, and even the central idea of the novel, that Daphne and Eddie deeply loved and respected each other and still do, is conveyed so many times and in so many different ways that it starts to feel repetitive. I often felt the novel was circling the same emotional ground instead of moving forward. While all this is going on, Patchett suddenly brings leukemia and a death into the picture, seemingly to make us feel even more sympathetic toward the two characters whom she has already portrayed in an overwhelmingly positive light. Frankly, I found the plot rather threadbare. I can count on my fingers exactly 2 sections of the novel that offered genuinely engaging storytelling. Other than that, I found it bland and at times boring. By the final third of the novel, I wasn't turning the pages because I wanted to know what happened next. I was turning them because I have this irrational inability to leave a book unfinished once I've started it. Now, I do understand what the novel is trying to do. It attempts to portray ordinary people living ordinary lives in their quiet mundaneness. Not every story can or needs to be full of dramatic twists or life-altering revelations. Ordinary life is beautiful, and everyday conversations and relationships can create a comforting, familiar world that readers enjoy inhabiting. But even such stories should ideally reveal something deeper, some insight or emotional truth about human nature. If nothing else, they should make the ordinary feel extraordinary. Unfortunately, Whistler never quite managed to do that for me. That said, I completely understand why so many readers admire this novel. Patchett's writing is elegant, understated, and never pretentious. There is a quiet confidence to her prose that many readers will appreciate. And if you enjoy character-driven novels where very little happens externally and the pleasure lies in simply spending time with the characters, this book may well work for you better than it did for me. As for me, the plot simply wasn't rich enough, and I kept waiting for the story to reach an emotional depth or narrative momentum that never really arrived. So while I can appreciate what the novel was aiming for, it ultimately left me feeling indifferent rather than moved. I would probably rate it around 2.5 or 3 stars out of 5, but that is of course just one reader's opinion. If you have read Whistler, I would genuinely love to know whether you connected with it more than I did. Perhaps there's something I missed. Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this review, I hope you will join me for the next one. Until we meet again, happy reading!